Well, first of all, fellas, thanks so much for taking time out your busy schedule. Obviously, we're here to talk about how everyone's doing from the hurricane. As you can see, Mr. Mayor, I got my shirt. My 10 shirts came in, and I've been handing them out. So I'm representing. So I guess with all due respect, let's go with Mr. Mayor first. How are things?
Hey, thanks. Love this shirt, brother. Things are proceeding in East Tennessee. Western North Carolina and Upper East Tennessee got hit very badly. Most of what we call just a triage as far as search and rescue and, just ensuring that the emergency stuff, food, water, all those sort of things, restoring power. I think that's pretty much concluded at this point. Now you're going to move on to the rebuilding, roads, obviously structures and houses and that sort of thing. So I think things are proceeding. It's one of those deals where you never want to see a tragedy like this. At the same time, it's amazing the outpouring of love and compassion that we've all seen. It's amazing. How are your folks doing down in Orlando?
You know what? They, the old man outsmarted Mother Nature once again. They ended up pretty good. They ended up with a little bit of lost power. Most of my family, thanks to Joe, actually, helped me get an Airbnb down in South Carolina. So the majority of the family went there, and of course, my son's uncles. They're part of the biggest story in WWE right now. So they were all moved. So everyone, knock on wood, ended up pretty okay. So no complaints.
That's good to hear.
Joe, how are things going on your end?
Man, they're a little slower. Still a lot of people without power, a lot of people without heat, a lot of people without running water. And if they do have running water, it is not drinkable. So it's still a very slow process, and there's still a lot of roads that need to be cleared. And, they're starting to see more help, but the cold temperatures are not helping.
And you're running supplies from South Carolina down to North Carolina. Have you had a lot of help with the media? Because I know as the news cycle, and that's one of the reasons why it was important to come back and do this, is because things like this don't stay in the news cycle very long, the way the news is today. So a lot of people think, oh, well, we're not hearing about it, so everything must be Jim Dandy, and it's not for a lot of people. So you're still seeing a lot of the same issues from 2 weeks ago when last we spoke?
Yeah, Asheville was hit particularly hard in all the outskirts over there, heading up towards the mountain and heading it into Tennessee. You still have records of about 1 million people without power. And if they don't have power, most of the time they don't have heat. And like we said last time, a lot of the HVAC systems were in people's basements and crawl spaces that got flooded out. Fortunately, the GoFundMe page that you helped promote, we were able to send a ton of heaters and dehumidifiers and that kind of stuff up. But we've got people that have nowhere to go, and their houses now have water damage, so there's mold and stuff like that. So they can't stay inside of it. So they're sleeping in tents in their front yard. And last week, when we had our first real cold, there were 3 infants that passed.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible.
So it's still a real issue, trying to keep these people warm and trying to figure out temporary housing, because there is no solution yet. And most of these people, okay, you could say, hey, your house is wrecked, go somewhere else, but they have nowhere to go.
Right. And we're not seeing any. Are you seeing any help in terms from FEMA, in terms of like shelter setups or anything like that or judging by that breath, I'm probably not going to like one I'm near.
So FEMA's there. They brought in temporary housing for their staff, so they'd have a place to stay. There's yet to be any temporary housing set up for hurricane victims, et cetera. So that's still an issue.
Oh, really? So if people want to help Joe, how can they reach out? Where do they need to go?
So the GoFundMe page is still up. You can send money through that, or if you contact me through the GoFundMe page and you want to send heaters or dehumidifiers directly, I can give you a shipping address if you email me.
Blankets, jackets, baby bottles, that type of stuff.
Yeah, and most of the stuff though right now at this point, they're really looking for things to keep people warm, which are blankets and jackets and heaters, mostly heaters.
Mr. Mayor, let me throw it back to you. Is it during the rebuild phase that we're seeing, is it disheartening that with just such a lack of media presence now? because this is the kind when you want to keep, people, you want to keep the help coming. You want to, I mean, it's frustrating.
Yeah, it certainly is. And thank you for everything that you've done, because you're exactly right. What happens is just as fast as everything moves nowadays, if people aren't hearing about something repeatedly throughout the news cycle, they forget about it. That's just the nature of the world we live in. And this does almost appear to be already forgotten about, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it is, because certainly we want to keep it top of mind. I mean, this is not something it's not going to be resolved tomorrow. I mean, this is going to be many months, even years
to
full recovery. Yeah. Some of these, like, my colleagues up in Upper East Tennessee, I was talking to the mayor of Carter County, and they estimate that they have $62 million in road damage for the county alone. Okay. That is, I don't know what their budget is for engineering public works, but I venture to say that is several years of spending just on that, not taking care of anything else. The state looks like it's going to have over $300 million in repairs to roads that are state routes. So it's just a lot. And then, of course, that's not even touching all the damage that's been done to businesses and homes and those sort of things. And again, I was talking with the Carter County mayor, and she was like, some folks they lost their home. They don't have any reason to stay up there, and they're just going to move, which is pretty sad.
Yeah. Given that this is an election year, you would think that each side would be trying to outdo each other in terms of helping out, and we're just, it seems like there's just kind of we're doing the best we can kind of a attitude. And it's very frustrating for a lot of Americans. It's frustrating for myself, because you want to hear positive stories, and then you can see the look, Joe, the frustration, and because you've been doing this since day one, and you're continuing to do it. How are spirits for the volunteers that you're working with, Joe?
Man, people are worn, right? And it's the people that are trying to do the most. They're definitely beyond burnt out at this point, and they don't really see an end. And realistically, like, Mr. Jacobs was just saying, there isn't an end anytime soon, right? This is not like, okay, 2025, everybody will be back on their feet and we'll be back to tourism. We're not there. And because most of these people haven't even gotten a real plan if there is federal aid coming in, right? Like, what is FEMA going to do if your house was completely washed away and you don't have flood insurance? There's not even like hey, we might do this. People are still waiting for their $750 for the most part. So everybody's pretty worn out. They're looking for some solutions. And I'm sure, Mr. Jacobs has seen too, it's the regular people, it's the small nonprofits. Those are the people doing, moving the mountains right now.
So if somebody wanted to volunteer, say if somebody wanted to come down that can help maybe with driving supplies in and out with you guys, where do they contact you? The GoFundMe page? Because I hear a lot of Americans like, listen, I'm tight on cash, but I do have some time. I would be happy to come help. And that kind of drops off again when these things go in phases. But you can't really group, because one person's, like, when you're at rock bottom, it's really hard to draw a plan when you don't even have the chalkboard to even draw it up, So if someone was willing to help, physically wanted to help,
if you physically want to help, if you physically want to help, Samaritan's Purse has been doing a ton of groundwork with clearing roads and clearing out houses and doing that kind of stuff. They're a fantastic not-for-profit. They've been there since day one. And there's a ton of not-for-profits that are actually there doing stuff. World Kitchen has been there feeding people for free, which is fantastic as well. Like in downtown Asheville, you can walk up and they just give you food.
Now, one of the issues that we're hearing, and again, this is a small thing, but it's people in North Carolina especially are concerned with the ability to vote, because cities are gone.
Yeah.
So have you for people there, are they setting up early voting for them? Are they giving them opportunities in other counties?
Yeah.
Or is that just, I mean, it's so close to where you would think that everyone would have a plan for those who want to be able to vote, regardless of the fact that they've been through this natural disaster?
So early voting has started. You already see that going on. One of the big concerns was prior to the storm, about 40,000 mail-in ballots had already been sent to that region of the state, which I'm really not sure how that works now, if they never get returned, if those people can still vote in person, or how that works. And also, like, just to call a spade, that part of the state is other than one county, all conservative. So North Carolina being a swing state is pretty concerning to think that not everybody there is going to be able to vote.
Mr. Mayor, have you heard any input on this type of stuff, or is that even? And for some people, again, staying warm at night is obviously way more important than voting, but at the same time, the timing couldn't be worse.
Sure, I'm not directly involved in that. We do a great job here in Tennessee. We're actually number one in election integrity across the United States. Our Secretary of State does a great job, as do our local election commissions. Again, from what I would gather of what happened is, we still have polling places and precincts. Our early voting began as well. So I would think that they would just allow people that have been impacted whose early voting location. And the great thing about Tennessee is you can vote at any early voting location within your county. It's not broken down by precinct. So even if some of those aren't there, people could still get out and vote. Precincts are a little different, but I'm sure that whatever arrangements have been made, probably the biggest issue is just in some cases people being able to get to the polls because their roads are gone and those sort of things. So I don't think it's necessarily a matter of, in our case, the polling place being gone as it is the people being able to get there. In your previous question about the media not covering this, I hate to make it partisan, but I do believe that part of that does have to be the fact that you have a Democrat president, Democrat vice president candidate. You look at what happened in Katrina. So much of that really was caused by incompetence, especially at the local level. I mean, Ray Nagin, who is the mayor of New Orleans, went to prison for corruption. Their governor, who is a Democrat, to her credit, she did say that mistakes were made at every level, but the media just heaped it all onto FEMA and George Bush. And I think what happened with Katrina, by the time FEMA got there, there was already an absolute mess. I think here, the locals in the state have done a much better job. So the media is not going to cover that. And they're also, I hate to say this, but it's also probably about the election. And we don't want to, cover that FEMA's not doing, what you would think they would do because that hurt the Democrat.
And that's unfortunate because the press's job is to present the news and without, I don't want to say this because it's going to hurt the party that I want to get in office. Exactly. That is frustrating. And you hate to even have to even say that because as soon as you say that, the blowback's going to be, oh, you prove it, It's just frustrating because it's American citizens that are in harm's way, and you would think, again, election year, we're going to do more than necessary to show the American people when you're down, we're there, and it does appear again to look like, well, they're not our problem because they're not our group, and you hope that this day at any time in America when it comes down to it. Because the people who are volunteering, the American citizens, they don't care who you vote for. They just want to help. And I think that's the message that we want to keep conveying. You hope that government officials, that although it's not their side, you would hope the humanitarian, regardless. But you know what? That's not how you get new voters. That's not how you convince people. You know what I'm saying? You're almost telling them, there's a reason why I'm not voting for you. So it blows my intellectual mind sometimes when you see the games that are played with human lives. And let's be honest, losing 3 babies in the United States to cold shouldn't happen. Yeah,
Tyrus,
it just shouldn't happen.
Tyrus, one of the big things, if you just go Hurricane Katrina versus Hurricane Helene, there was 50,000 National Guard that was sent for Hurricane Katrina. They have put out about 10,000 for this storm. And, more people were affected by this storm. More people are still without power from this storm. Just numbers versus numbers, it doesn't make sense why wouldn't there be more National Guard there? It's in 3 different states.
Also, given the fact that the people of North Carolina and Tennessee and a lot of the cities that were hit by this hurricane had never been prepared for a hurricane before. I live in the mountains. It's not something I have to think about. I don't have insurance. Again, what happened in Katrina, what happened in Ida, Louisiana, it's almost kind of in our DNA a little bit in terms of we prepare, we think of things. And again, tragedy, the levees and all that stuff, no excuse for those things to go wrong. But there's almost a certain understanding of, I do live in Louisiana, it is hurricane season, even Florida. But when you're in a place that is not prepared because we just haven't had it, you almost need even more of a presence because we know insurance companies are going to do everything they can not to do it. They're going to be like, well, you don't have wind insurance. Like we went through that stuff in Louisiana where basically I was told, yes, I have hurricane insurance, but I didn't have a specific wind to go with the water. It was like splicing hairs. And then if you did get a check, your next premiums were out of this world. They were so expensive, in fact, that I had sold my house and moved out of Louisiana because the insurance was so high after the hurricane. So you just hate the bureaucracy of this. And when we just want to help people, we just want to see people get back on their feet. If you have to relocate them, give them options. We know in this country you have the ability to fly people out in the middle of the night to all kinds of places, and I'm speaking with a little tongue-in-cheek there, but why isn't that we're not doing this for our American citizens? No. If we don't have a place for you to go, hey, Arizona's warm and beautiful this time of year. We're going to fly people over there while we figure out, set things up, food, shelter, some kids can go to school. I mean, there's things that we can be doing. Or am I just on a rant?
I'm sure there's hotels in New York City that could use people too. I feel like the government has figured that out before for other people. I think the people of Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee could greatly use that help right now. And you don't want to go down the rabbit hole of the bureaucracy, but if you want to stay away from the bureaucracy, donate to someone like myself who is not making a penny off of any of this, who is spending every dime that comes in and directly giving it to people affected. There's no channel that this is flowing through. We are just finding people in the community that need help and getting them supplies.
And I can tell, like, you look exhausted. But there's one of those things when many years you'll be laying in your bed and you'll have a thought of this and you'll be like, it was worth every moment. Nothing but respect for doing it. Because again, Joe, you're a private citizen. You're not going to get famous off this. You're not getting a movie deal out of this. Especially you're on my show, so you so if anything, you might get a little bit of blowback sometimes from people because you're conservative. But again. There are a lot of Americans like yourself, and when you're feeling at this, and again, and don't let the mayor fool you. When he was in the WWE, this guy was the king of being prepared. I remember once when I was an unprepared knucklehead, I said, "Hey, if the spot gets hot, can I just get some?" And he looked at me, "No, you cannot. Prepare yourself."
I let you do it now.
Yeah. But I remember because he was, hey, you got to be prepared for these things. And I was like, well, you're so prepared. He was like, no, you need to get yourself together, young man. And I did. And I took that lesson to heart. And it was in light. I'm sure media there'll be Mayor declines Tyrus, but it was the mindset.
That'll be the headline.
What do you
yeah, that'll be 1,000%.
What do you expect of someone that sells insurance?
Yeah.
He's going to be ready for
I think
his
that's
stuff.
When you think about long term, one thing we're talking about for rebuilding structures and rebuilding things like that. Is it disappointing not seeing more corporations coming in, not seeing maybe the Targets of the world and these big companies that come in, because they could take a warehouse and literally truck in tons and tons of supplies that oftentimes end up in the back of warehouses at Amazon. Like, why do you not think we're not seeing the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Targets, these big corporations jump in and help out?
Walmart actually did. They brought in a bunch of trucks right off the bat. I know the local Lowe's have been trying to do that as well. But goes back to the same thing, like nothing's being covered, good or bad here, right? So no one actually knows what's going on. Because if you saw 15 Walmart trucks coming in with all sorts of supplies, you might think, hey, wow, these people really do need help if they're bringing that much stuff in. But you're not even seeing that.
And I guess, again, go ahead.
No, I mean, we've seen that as well. When all this first started, we reached out to like some of the bottling companies and the beverage companies. And I mean, they just started shipping bottled water, tons of it. As well as, yes, Walmart's been very helpful. Home Depot and Lowe's have been very helpful as well. But yeah, you're just not really seeing anything coming out. I think too, it's just so much at this point, that it's taking a small bite of the apple, with everything that everybody's doing. But yeah, and there's some other folks, some people of means that have put a lot of money into recovery. I'm very thankful for that. But I think Joe's point's exactly right. We're not hearing anything good, bad, or indifferent. We're just not hearing anything at all.
And I think that's the part that's difficult for me because, one, if it is bad, obviously the more information we get, the more we can help. If it is good, what's working, so we can make sure it's not only happening in the two areas that you guys are connected to, but everyone else, because there is some group somewhere that is not being representative that could use help. So again, I don't understand why this is not more of a news story. All I can do is, like I said, as long as you guys can do it every 2 weeks, I will come back and we will see it. Because eventually it'd be great to be like, how's it going, guys? We're good. Yeah. Like things are good, and we're in the right direction. Nothing to see here. So obviously we still need to get that voice out. And again, for people stronger than a storm, those guys were great. We're putting it up on my social media. We're places where people can donate, and of course we're going to put Joe, more of your stuff up there. So basically, just keep your spirits up, your chin up, and again, we need more mayors like Mr. Jacobs here. So get things done across this country. And again, it's an election year, so hopefully in the next few days, maybe after November 6th, we'll get some normalcy, and people can get some help. Let's fingers crossed. Either way,
let's hope.
Yeah, let's hope so. And for the meantime, just everybody that has donated already, thank you so much. One thing I was talking to one of your producers about earlier, we were able to take some of the money and help someone bury their father who had passed during the storm that did not have the resources because their job is gone too. So this money is helping people in all different ways, and the heaters, and there's countless lives that are being helped by the generosity of people from all across the country, your viewers, and just I'm beyond grateful for all the help that we've received so far.
Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, twos and fews matter. You don't have to write these giant checks for like $500 or $1,000 or $10, $15 from, 100 people send, a couple bucks here and there. It builds up pretty quick. You get 10,000 people donating $1. That's $10,000 to help somebody. So no donation is too small. No. And no effort is too great. So I think that's important, and hopefully we'll be able to keep helping people. And again, whenever you need anything, my platform is your platform. Both of you guys, anything you need, it's just a text away. So I appreciate you so much for your time today, and hopefully I'll check back with you guys in a couple weeks. And Ms. Jacob, I'm going to see you on Gutfeld pretty soon. So keep in touch and let me know if anything I can do for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Take care.